Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Centers for Spiritual Living, the Texas Hill Country, formerly known as San Antonio Center for Spiritual Living. And our theme for the month of August is going to be a living faith, the road to peace, fulfillment, and happiness. You know, the science of mind is described as a faith, a philosophy, and a way of life. Science of mind is not a religion, but we honor all paths to God. And these beautiful teachings of the science of mind offer us a clear and direct roadmap for a way of living in peace, fulfillment, and happiness. Now, they don't promise that we will never experience hills and valleys, but they do offer a clear and direct way to approach them. Our resource for the month is Living the Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes. A faith, a philosophy, a way of life. There's a story of a couple who lived in a small town and had two little boys, ages 8 and 10, who were excessively mischievous. And the two were always getting into trouble, and their parents could be assured that if there was any mischief occurred in their town, their two young sons were in some way involved. And the parents were at their wits' end as to what to do about the sons' behavior. And the mother had heard that there was a clergyman in town that had been successful in disciplining children in the past. So she approached the minister about seeing her sons. And the clergyman agreed to speak with the boys, but asked to see them individually. And now the 8-year-old was the one that went in to meet him first. And the clergyman sat the boy down and asked him very sternly, "Where is God?" And the boy made no response. So the clergyman repeated the question in an even louder and sterner voice. "Where is God?" Again, the boy made no attempt to answer. So the clergyman raised his voice even more and shook his finger in the boy's face, saying, "Where is God?" At that, the boy jumped up and bolted from the room, and he ran directly home and slammed himself in his closet. And his older brother followed him into the closet and said, "What happened?" And the younger brother replied, "We are in big trouble this time. God is missing, and they think we have something to do about it with it." So, isn't it wonderful that we don't believe for a minute that our God is missing? In fact, we believe exactly the opposite. We believe that God, the source and substance through all that is, and God, the power in all that is, and God, the creator, as well as the creation of all that is. And he's very, very present. In fact, we believe that the life within us is the life of God, and that the life is truth, beauty, harmony, and wholeness. We believe that the mind within us is the mind of God, and this mind is the governing principle of our lives. And we believe that the power within us is the power of God, and this power is our divine authority to create. My notes are scrambled. Now, those were slightly modified words of Ernest Holmes from the book, Living the Science of Mind, which I'm using for our theme this month. And they are nice words, wonderful words, aren't they? So nice and wonderful, I'm going to say them again. We believe that the life within us is the life of God, and the life is truth, beauty, harmony, and wholeness. We believe that the mind within us is the mind of God, and the mind is the governing principle of our lives. And we believe that the power within us is the power of God, and this power is our divine authority to create. And we nod our heads and say yes to all these words, right? But that isn't enough. It isn't enough just to agree with those words. We must embody them. What does it mean to embody them? It means to fully and completely integrate them into our consciousness. Oh, there's that word again. We said consciousness. We said consciousness is the totality of our beings that we bring to the table of life, our lives. And we said that the totality of our beings that we bring to the table of our lives is made up of 8 components. And they are what? Thoughts, feelings, beliefs, attitudes, values, words, actions, and the one we added was reactions, if you recall. So to embody something is to fully and completely integrate it into our thoughts, feelings, beliefs, values, attitudes, words, actions, and reactions. And it is when we embody the words I said before, do you remember them? We believe that the life within us is the life of God. And this life is truth, beauty, harmony, and wholeness. We believe that the mind within us is the mind of God, and this mind is the governing principle of our lives. And we believe that the power within us is the power of God, and this power is our divine authority to create. It is when we fully and completely integrate them into the totality of our beingness that they become game changers for us, that they give us a clear and direct roadmap for a way of living in peace, fulfillment, and happiness. And that's how Ernest Holmes could use only 3 steps for prayer treatment. Those beliefs were totally embodied, and he felt them. So let's begin the embodying process. And we're going to take those words of Ernest Holmes and make them very, very personal. And so say after me. The life within me is the life of God. The life within me is the life of God. And this life, my life is truth, beauty, harmony, and wholeness. Is truth, beauty, harmony, and wholeness. You know, in the writings, in the book that I was reading, it compared it to well, let me just go ahead. Rather than embodying this idea, we often feel like the moldy cabbage safe. I don't know if you've ever heard of the moldy cabbage safe, but that's what I said. The moldy cabbage safe. There was once an ad in the New York Times for a plastic safe that looked and felt exactly like a moldy head of cabbage. You didn't need a combination or a key to open it because it had a secret clasp that could only be opened if you held it in just the right way. And if you did, it would split open so you could hide your your jewelry or other valuables inside and slip it into the refrigerator. And no one would ever think to look for your valuables inside a head of moldy cabbage. That was what the moldy cabbage safe was all about. So we can be like that. We think we're just moldy cabbages, but really the jewels that are in us, the gifts we have, the life of God are all there inside. We just have to unlock them. Just unlock them. These words help unlock them, so let's do them again. The life within me is the life of God. The life within me is the life of God. And this life, my life, is truth, beauty, harmony, and wholeness. Be with those words for just a moment and let them sink in. What do they mean to you? You know, these aren't just true about the person next door to you who you think is maybe so enlightened and you aren't. They are equally true of you. Who and how would you be if you embodied these words of truth? Would you think ugly and mean thoughts about yourself anymore? Would you put yourself down anymore? Would you think that there is something inherently wrong or bad about you? Would you still think you don't deserve a life of peace, happiness, and fulfillment? I don't think so. Rather, you would recognize your greatness and see your uniqueness and celebrate who you are. Because you are what you are, who you are, is the living God, and you are truth, beauty, harmony, and wholeness. So say that with me. I am truth, beauty, harmony, and wholeness. I am truth, beauty, harmony, and wholeness. So now that we've established who and whose we are, let's go to the next statement that I shared earlier, and let's begin embodying it by saying it together. The mind within me is the mind of God. The mind within me is the mind of God. And this mind, my mind, is the governing principle of my life. Is the governing principle of my life. Now be with those words for a moment and let them sink in. What do they mean to you? Who and how would you be if you embodied this truth? Not sure? Well, let me read from the Living the Science of Mind. Since the mind within you is the mind of God, and since the mind of God not only created everything that has ever existed, but will create everything that is ever going to be, you already have within you the ability to project new ideas, new thoughts, new inventions, and I'll add your dreams, hopes, and desires. Therefore, whatsoever ideas you desire when you pray, and when you listen to this inner mind, know that you are going to receive them, for you are dealing with that mind, which is the conceiver of all ideas. And when you call upon this mind for an answer to your problem, it at once knows the answer because there is no problem to it. In this way, the answer is every problem already is the mind which you possess. The answer to every problem already is in the mind which you possess. the mind of God. If you really believed these words, you would be someone who trusted yourself, wouldn't you? You would be awesome, or someone who knew that your dreams, hopes, and desires are readily available to you. You would be the person who knew that no matter what issues you may be facing, there is a mind bigger than that. You know, I've been taking a lot of classes from Mary Morrissey, and she's one of my spiritual teachers and has been for some time. And she often says, don't bring your big problems to God. Rather, bring your big God to your problems. But really, in the mind, which is our mind, there are no problems to which there isn't already a solution. Who would you be if you embodied this idea? How about starting to be that person now? Knowing the mind of God flows in, through, and around you. And now to embody our final thought. The power within me is the power of God. And this power is my divine authority to create. Holmes tells us in the Science of Mind textbook, to think is to create. This is the key which opens the doorway to wisdom and power. That doorway is already within you. If to think is to create thoughts or things, and the law of things is the law of thought. Change your thinking. This will not be easy at first because old thought habits are prone to restart themselves or reassert themselves to claim they have a right to remain in your consciousness, to harass and torment you. But now you are wise and you know that they have no such authority. You see them to be exactly what they are, false impressions claiming to be the truth. They are the traitors to your true self, false representations of the divinity within you. They are a misuse of your law of freedom, but you will cast them out. You will say to them, I no longer accept you, be gone. And because they are only thoughts, they will evaporate. And this reminds me of what our brother and teacher Jesus did when he, as the scripture says in Luke chapter 4, was led by the Spirit into the wilderness. And he went there 40 days being tempted by the devil. What's the significance of 40 days? Symbolically, all the time it takes for transformation. That's what the number 40 means. All the time it takes for transformation. And the scriptures tells us that he didn't eat during this time and was hungry. So the devil said to him, if you really are who you say you are, the Son of God, well then just command this stone to turn to bread. That should be a piece of cake for you. And then the devil took him up into a high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world in a single moment of time and said, I'll give you power over all of this if you will worship me. And he brought Jesus to Jerusalem and set him on a pinnacle of the temple and said to him, again, if you are who you say you are, then get yourself down from here. And to these temptations, Jesus said, get thee behind me, Satan. And what is the devil? Because we absolutely don't believe there is a being or an entity that is the devil. Holmes, in the glossary of the Science of Mind, says the devil is any thought of duality, anything that could deny the oneness and the allness of good, any idea which dilutes truth. The only devil we shall ever know will be that which appears as a result of our negative thinking. Get thee behind me, Satan. And even Charles Fillmore, who was also a student of Emma Curtis Hopkins and the co-founder of Unity. The devil is a state of consciousness adverse to the divine good. There is no personal devil. God is the one omnipotent principle of the universe, and there is no room for any principle of evil, personified or otherwise. The devils we encounter are fear, anger, jealousy, and other similar negative traits, and they are in ourselves. Christ gives us the power to cast out these devils, thereby cleansing our consciousness. So, to our negative thoughts, those thoughts that will not create that which we desire to have in our lives, let us say, "Get thee behind me, Satan. Get thee behind me, Satan." Because after Jesus did this, is when his ministry really began. And the scriptures of Luke 4:14 read, "And Jesus returned in the power of the Spirit into Galilee, and there went out to fame of him through all the region round about." So, like Jesus, when we realize the power behind our thoughts, feelings, beliefs, attitudes, values, words, actions, and reactions, so will our lives take off. And we will be the person we came here to be, to share the gifts we came here to share, and to live the life of peace, fulfillment, and happiness that we are meant to live. And when we embody the truth, the life within us is the life of God. The mind within us is the mind of God. And the power within us is the power of God. And it is our divine authority to create our lives. Because we have been tweaking Holmes' words this morning to make them personal, I want to do one more time in the form of a closing prayer for this lesson. And it is from the Living the Science of Mind. But I made it personal. Whatever I believe to be true about God, I declare to be the truth about myself. The power within me, which is God, is the law of good, establishing right action in my life. In this manner, I gain dominion and exercise authority. To think is to create. This is the key which opens the doorway to wisdom and power. That doorway is already within me. Somewhere within me, the mind of God reveals the truth that I was born free, that the will of God for me is one of goodness, truth, and beauty, that all the power there is for me, and all the will there is wills life. I am the image and likeness of this life. I am a personification of it. I am the personality of God. The kingdom of heaven is already within me, and the law of the kingdom is harmony, peace, and joy. It is done. And so it is, and so we'll let it be. And together we say, Amen.